Welcome to the All About Ability podcast. Yes, I nailed it. We've had a wee bit of a break the past few months, but we're back and we're ready to go again. And I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks of podcast. We're going to be back every Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we're going to have some good content coming your way, so stay tuned. This is the problem when I do podcasts, is every other podcast does like a pure fancy intro, and then I'm just like, what's happening? But I've not actually done one in a while. And you always get those pure nervy jitters when you start back.
What do you think I'm like? Sitting here, I've never done one. Podcast. Literally.
Well,
and I've got heavy social anxiety.
Well, it's quite brave of you to be doing it in the first place then, but I was just saying there how I was looking at your Instagram and sort of looking at what you've had to go through in your life, and it's very motivating. Like, people always say to me how, like, they see a wheelchair and they're like, oh, it's so inspiring. It always feels quite cheesy and condescending, but I think for you it's very much accurate.
I went through like a ghost on social media to like only posting for the reasons of mainly mental health. Like, I was in the Priory last year, last August for 4 weeks, and I literally was just like I couldn't do it any longer. I was like that. Like, I voluntarily took myself out of my own comfort zone, like stopped everything that I like doing, took myself away from everything and put myself in there for 4 weeks because I literally could not go on any longer. Like, but the way my mental health was going was just, it wasn't getting any better, and the way that was the biggest thing for me when I went into the Priory was like I went in there at like just under 7.5 stone, and I came out like at 9 stone, right?
Wow.
But that was too much. Like, that my psychiatrist had put me on like this medication that was pure just too much, that the dosage was too high. I was so bloated, but once I had reduced like the medication, I went like my weight eventually stabled, and I'm like 8.5 stone now. Like, and that is what I've never been able to even like stable my weight at 8 stone. It just kept dropping. I don't know why. It was like my mood used to just affect my appetite so much to the point where I couldn't eat. Like, for days on end, I couldn't eat. It was mad. And then obviously being in the hospital, I was getting my 3 meals a day. I was getting breakfast and I was getting lunch and I was getting dinner. So once I came out of that hospital, I was in that routine.
Yeah.
So it was just trying to maintain it basically, and it is hard. There's days where you sleep to like 3 o'clock and all that, and you're just like, But the biggest thing for me in that hospital was my weight. My weight is eventually stabled. Like, I've not dropped under 8 stone since the start of September, and that's what the biggest thing was for me, because I ended up with COVID at the start of December. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if I was stuck that way, I could have been even worse.
Well, it's amazing that you've been able to sort of acknowledge that and put yourself in the situation to deal with all that. Like, I feel like I should say your name, and I'm like, I haven't even said your name. Jodie Edgar, and I actually, I don't know how or when we discovered each other on Instagram, right? But I was thinking about why I started the podcast and what I wanted to do with it. Because somebody said to me the other day, Thomas Pettigrew, I'm going to give him a shout out because he's also in a wheelchair and we play football together, and he's quite outspoken, if you like. If he was here, he'd be telling me to shut the fuck up. But no, he was saying how I listen to a podcast and I like it. I used to kind of watch it more. And he asked, like, what is it like? So when you first started it, it seemed like you were talking to like people that were about relatable stories and try to help people through tough situations.
I have, because I'd watched a few of them.
Yeah, like what did you watch? That's all I know. No, like actually what I help people through like real life situations through your own experience. Like, I think it's different. Obviously, there's a lot of mental health podcasts and things like that where people are trying to talk about it like they're qualified professionals. But I'm just talking about it from the relatable standpoint of
Aye.
my own experience. And I think that really resonated with folks. And but he said to me, like, so it used to be quite relatable that way, and I feel that you kind of went down the route of looking for like big names and sort of celebrity type of people, and it's, your kind of interview style changed from a conversation to being like
just
try to
talking
get
about
the clicks and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
just general.
Aye. So I was like, so I said to him, like, that's a good point. It made me think, and then I seen a few of your posts, and I was like, wow, she's got some story.
A lot of people do message me on Instagram, and I don't like right now. I don't realize how strong I am, but I will eventually. Like, it's just, I know I've been through a lot. Like, obviously, it was just started from like, it was just a domino effect from like 2015. My wee brother was took into foster care, and I've never seen him since. He was taken into foster care when he was 5. I seen him at my mum's funeral, which was, that's the only part I cried at, was seeing my wee brother at my mum's funeral. Like, I was so numb that day, because even I seen him, I actually broke down, because I was like, it was pure clinging on to me, actually so emotional. Not going to get into that, but I've not seen him. He's 13 this year, and he was taken into care when he was 5. Month after my wee brother was taken into care, my gran was killed by a drunk driver coming home from her son's wedding. And that was just like absolute, like, I'll never go over that, because me and my dad used to always prepare for my mum's death, because my mum basically started drinking since she was like 13, and she was told when she was 34, you've got liver disease, and if you don't stop drinking, you're going to be dead in 4 years. And she made the 3. So like, me and my dad, we always kind of prepared for my mum's death. And I got a phone call one like morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was just for this like random number. And I was like, just kept patching it, because I was just like, I was sleeping, but they kept phoning me. It wasn't like an unheld number, it was just a number. And I eventually answered, and it was like my cousin. And he was like, yeah, where are you, Jody? And I was like, I was in a relationship at the time, and I was in the person's house, and he said to me that I'll need to come pick you up. And this was at like the back of 4 in the morning, and I'm like, what? Wait. And straight away I'm like, yeah, mum. I'm like, is it mum? They went, no, your mum's with me. And I was like, who then? Do you know what I mean? Because that was the last thing I was expecting. I was starting to think my wee brother. I was starting to get into things like that when he was in care, things like that. And that I'll never get over that. Like, that was just an absolute shock. But everything's meant to happen for a reason. And my gran did always say that she couldn't bury her daughter. And I don't think she would have been able to do that. I don't think she would have been able to mentally, physically actually go through that. So I believe in everything happens for a reason, but that fucked me.
Understandably so. It's incredibly a lot to deal with over a short space of time, especially if your mum's had such a big problem with alcohol, and then she gets that happens to her through a drunk driver. It's a terrible sort of.
No, it was my gran. So
No,
like,
that's what I mean.
So I think, like, see, my gran was like my mum's biggest support. If it was her only support, because I had got to the point where I was just like, I can't deal with it. It was too much for me. So my gran was there for my mum, and then when she was gone, I think my mum just went right downhill. And then my mum passed away, and so my gran passed away the month of my 18th birthday, and my mum passed away the month of my 21st birthday. She passed away in 2018, she took a cardiac arrest and her heart stopped beating for 20 minutes, and the nurses said to me, like, they got her heart beating again, and the nurses said to me, we've never seen anything like this in our lives. Like, usually after like 8, 10, 12 minutes, you stop trying, but a heart came back, and I had 2 days with my mum that I had like so much to say to her that I never got to say because due to her addiction. There was so much that I actually got to say to her. So see the 2 days that in that hospital, it was so rewarding, and I think a heart started beating again for me. I truly believe that. Like, I went to see psychics, I've seen spiritualists, everything, and they've said to me, like, your mum has heard everything that was said in that hospital, and she'd told me things that nobody would have known. It's mad.
It's amazing.
I believe in all that so much, and there's a lot of people that don't believe in like this, like psychics and things like that, but from what I've been told in my experience, 100% I do.
So this is a lot for you to process, obviously, and what made you want to share it on social media? What made you start to go, I'm going to share this story?
Well, I was just in such a bad place. Like, see, like this time last year, like I was like, my emotions were just upside down. Like, I just didn't even know who I was. Like, I genuinely did not know who I was, and I'm just starting to find my feet now. I'm just starting to find who I actually am. Like, I'd lost my identity. I felt like I just didn't even, like, I genuinely couldn't even look in the mirror, like for so long, because I could just see every flaw, everything. Like, this time last year, I was a pure ghost. Like, what I used to post on social media, and then I would post, and then it would go 7 months, and you wouldn't see anything from me. Like, no, like, I wouldn't post a story on my or anything on my story. I wouldn't post anything, and then when I came out the Priory, and when I was in the Priory, when I was in the hospital, like, I was never posted about anything in the hospital. It wasn't like, oh, look at me, I'm in a psychiatric hospital. Nothing got posted. Eventually, when I was discharged from the hospital, I started boxing training with my stepmom, and it's mad because this psychic told my stepmom a few months previous that she was like, your stepdaughter is in emotional turmoil and you're going to be the one to help her. And when I was in that hospital, my stepmom texted me and she was like, do you want to start boxing training? And see, since I started that, I've never done an exercise in my life. And it's just the thing, see, the general stuff that the doctors say to you, like the exercise, what's your diet like, and I'm pure rolling my eyes, and I used to always be like, stop asking me things like that. But that is what it's all about. See, as soon as I started exercising and boxing, like, I feel like I'm changing so much as a person. I'm actually starting to, like, find myself. Therapy is does you good to a certain extent, but I think the exercise for me has been the biggest part in my recovery, and just like the past 6 months alone.
I love that so much. This, like, I think people don't talk about the fact that, like, see, when people say things like, oh, it's exercise and, you know, what you eat and stuff like that will help you with how you feel about yourself and helps confidence grow and things like that. I think it's when you hear it in such a real life example, like,
my confidence is went literally from there to up here, and it's mad, absolutely mad. Because that first video that was taken of me, I couldn't even look at it, and that was only in November. See the progress videos that they take, and I was like, don't show me that. I was like, don't show me that. I could not even look at it.
Actually, we'll pull up the progress pics, like, in the post of this.
Aye.
As we're talking about it. Because when I seen them, it was the whole journey you've been on is like, there's a lot of you've been through that would crumble a lot of people, and I think that people think that when you get to that point you can't really pull through it, but you're showing that that's not the case.
Well, I'm just very blessed though. Like, I've got private medical through my work, there's no way in hell I would have been able to fund putting myself into a private hospital for 4 weeks. It was grands, like over £10,000. That's like, it's mad. And I feel like this is so weird because I left my last job just after my mum passed away, got straight into this job with all these benefits. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and I'm like I wouldn't have been able to put myself into a hospital and do it, and like the therapy that I'm getting is like £100 per session. Do you know what I mean? And it's once a week. There's no way in hell I would be able to fund that. And I literally just got this job straight after my mum passed away, and I just thought, I'm leaving this, I need a fresh start. Went into that job and I've got all these benefits, and it's like I have genuinely got two guardian angels. But it's amazing. Like, I think me going in there, I did not see a benefit. Like, see, when I came out, I felt like it was going to be some sort of magic. But obviously I came to realise that absolute years and years of trauma and everything is not going to be resolved with 4 weeks in a hospital. The biggest thing for me was my weight gain, then starting the exercise, and then my confidence growing.
When did the therapy come into it?
I started therapy like the start of last year, and that's when I was first diagnosed with complex PTSD. So it's like CPTSD, it's complex trauma, whatever you want to call it. It's all these different names for these diagnoses. And then when I was in the Priory, I was then diagnosed with emotional unstable personality disorder, which is borderline personality disorder, different names for the same diagnoses. So it's just dealing with that, like just trying to educate myself. Getting a diagnosis was such a big thing for me, because I was sick of just being like, yeah, it's depression, it's anxiety, it's this, it's that. I knew what I was going through wasn't just depression, it wasn't just low moods. I knew it was a whole lot worse. So getting a diagnosis, it was such a big thing for me, massive. It was then like being able to look into it, watch YouTube videos about it, actually educate yourself about what is going on in your own head.
For sure. I think this is a really important point, because people, when they think of mental health, they put it in the brackets of anxiety and depression.
And that's what I used to hate, but people being like, Jodie's depressed, or Jodie's anxious, or Jodie's just got anxiety. Now I can say, I've got 2 mental health disorders, I've got 2 diagnoses. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah, it's a huge thing in processing what's going on, how you're going to deal with it. And I think there's so many people that are going about the now thinking that they're just depressed or anxious, when there's so many more complicated things that can be happening.
It goes way back to childhood with me, and that's the thing. Like, I realised that, like, in therapy, like, you think, so that obviously all that happened, like, so from 2015 my wee brother was taken into care, my gran passed away, my they're putting me off.
Sorry.
So from 2015, my wee brother was taken into care, my gran was killed by a drunk driver, my mum passed away to alcohol abuse at the age of 37, my nana passed away, then I was in that car crash that I showed you, and honestly walking out of that with scratches is a miracle.
It's an absolute miracle, I was going to say.
In itself.
Definitely. Like those pictures you showed me, I thought, man, the fact you just said you walked out of that is...
I really walked out of that.
You should have been in one of these. I'm pointing my wheelchair. It's mental.
Like, it's weird because it's like, it was very similar to how my gran's crash happened. Like, she was just literally in it. She was walking up this street with her husband, flagged down a taxi, which ended up, and then it was my uncle on the other side, my dad's side of the family, just mental, but they didn't know who it was at the time.
You must have been in some shock though coming out of that. Like,
it was like, see that car crash, like, it was very similar. I had just picked up my friend and I'd missed the cut off, so I drove back round again, and I was coming out the junction. I remember it. Like, this is what I think the PTSD biggest thing for me is. See, with the sweating and all that during the night, I woke up, bed was actually saturated in sweat. I think, like, I was just dreaming about car crashes last night, constantly kept dreaming about them. Like, I'll never forget that. I know I've been diagnosed with complex trauma, but I wasn't at all the events except the car accident.
Yeah.
My own car accident. And I'll never forget the impact that it was like a transit van that hit me, and I'll never forget the impact of that. And see, like, the airbags and that coming out, and like, I can just remember looking at pal, and she was like, Jody. And she was like, yeah, she just took her seatbelt off because she thought like this car was smoking, because you get the dust for the airbags.
Yeah.
But I was just in complete shock, and I was like, yeah, I took my seatbelt off, and I walked out the motor, and I was like, yeah, like, I still to this day will never be able to. This is why I'm still going through therapy, and it's a process. Everything's a process, and I need to be able to process it. But looking at that motor, man, it was on the day of Old Firm's game. So, like, I was coming out this junction on Kilmarnock Road, and there was cars literally parked to the very, very, very edges of, like, I couldn't see a thing. Could not see a thing. So, like, I was edging out. I had a black box at the time in my car. It had all my speed and all that detected when the crash happened. I was edging out that junction at 3 miles per hour, so I could see that there was nothing on my left. It was just the right I couldn't see. And it was literally, as soon as I didn't see anything, I just turned my head, and it just whacked us. And see, still to this day, I think, even my friend said that, my pal said, Jody, I seen him come head on. So that was as if he was coming down a main road, so my insurance took the hit for that and everything. It was awful, but coming out that car and looking at it, like, it was a pure sunny day as well, and it was a main road, so there was like loads of people were in their gardens and all that. And see, as soon as it happened, there was about 20 people just ran right here. And we were like, where were all the witnesses and everything? But that goes into a whole nother story. But
so much, you've had so much trauma to deal with, and like, especially when you've already went through that with a family member, you've lost somebody through that, and then to experience it after that. It's totally understandable that you're having to process this, and you know, it's really kind of commendable that you're able to do this now. And it really hasn't been that long. A lot of people would take so much longer.
I'm still processing it. That's the thing. It's never going to be. There's never going to be an end. It's always going to be a work in progress. And mental health, I have now been diagnosed with 2 disorders. They don't just go away.
Yeah, of course.
What I've been through doesn't just go away. It's how I now deal with my life, how I now deal with my trigger points, how I now deal with my negative thoughts and try and turn them around. But it's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as that, and people know that. But It's just about pushing yourself sometimes. See, sometimes when I'm lying in that bed and I'm like, I can't face out there. It's like, right, Jodie, just get up, just get up. And it's just about pushing yourself. And then once you eventually make your bed and you open like your blinds and you're like, right, just get yourself in the shower. It's just about, honestly, just about pushing yourself, because I could just lie about all day and no wash myself, no brush my teeth, no do nothing because of how I feel. But it is literally just you push yourself, and I promise you'll feel better. Because I went through such a hard time. Like, I isolated myself in my bedroom for years upon years. I never spoke to anybody. I suffered in silence, and that's when I hit rock bottom. That's when I said to myself, I need to do something about this. Like, I need to take myself away from this situation, and that's when I put myself into the hospital.
I'm pure blown away by that there. I'm like that. What a motivating speech that was. That's getting clipped by the way. It's like you articulate it really well. And
but obviously I'm not at the end of my journey. I'm just basically at the start. Like, the things that I've started posting on social media now, like, I'm taking social media as like no as anything other than to help other people. I can't be bothered with anything else. Like, I might post something else now and again, but I'm going to post mainly for mental health. And I've got a lot of people that speak to me on social media just to talk, just to talk to me, because at the end of the day, nobody should ever suffer in silence. And I did when I had all this family around me, all these friends around me, but I felt so lonely. I felt like, I used to feel like, why do you not feel sorry for me, or why are you not trying to help me? That's what used to, when nobody else could help me except me, but I didn't realise that at the time. It was like, just I just don't know, like, what the things I used to think. Obviously I don't think I've really started my grieving process until recently, but it's been a journey. Like, I was like isolated in a bedroom for years upon years. Was just went to work, straight into that room. Went to work, straight into that room. Went to work, didn't have breakfast, didn't have lunch, didn't have dinner. Went straight into that room. That was my life for years. So see, when the pandemic hit, that did not affect me, because I was like, yeah, this has been my life for the past so long. And I know that's why, like, when obviously the pandemic did hit, people were starting to like pure mentally like see what it does when you need to isolate. But I had I was already doing that to myself for years previous. So all these party animals that would go out every weekend and go to the pubs and go into the tunes, they were the ones that were feeling it. I was like, yeah, I'm just doing what I've been doing for the past 5 years anyway. It wasn't affecting me.
I think the biggest thing that I'm taking from this when you're talking is, like, people, you're going to go through so many things in life, but you need to fight every day to get better, and make the effort to put the work into yourself and tackle those issues.
And every day is no fucking easy.
Because I think people are looking for this sort of, what can I do to be happy every day? And it's just not the way life works.
It's not possible. See, as long as this is the way I look at it, like, see, as long as every day is not a bad day, which it was for me at one point, I can deal with it.
I mean, that's exactly it. I think because your bad days can be days that you work for the good days. It's like you just need to keep going. I mean, listen to you speak there as well. Like, I've had a few ups and downs, and at times and stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing that you take from anything is you just need to constantly reassure yourself of, like, yeah, I'm in a bad place now, but we can get out of this.
It's temporary.
You know,
I just feel like, as well, my living situation is temporary. When I get my own space, my mental health will be so much better as well. I know that for a fact. Like, there's just a lot of things that are temporary right now that's going to get better.
it's because that's because you're putting the time in and you put the effort in to do it. And I think that there's, you know, a lot of people feel like they can't.
Like, I'm sitting here but kind of contradicting myself because I literally missed my full therapy appointment today because I slept through it. I had alarms set and everything, and I was so gutted at myself, but I thought, do you know what? I must have fucking needed that sleep.
Exactly. And we you know, that comes back to like, oh, I should have done this, should have done that. And, you know, constantly asking yourself questions like, if I'd, you know, sorted myself out earlier, or if I'd not met this person or made that mistake or whatever. Because I'm so bad for that.
I know. I was as well at a time. But do you know what? I just think, and I feel like it's been actually shown to me, everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
Like, my wee brother being in foster care. See, that I think that's really helped him because he went through a lot of trauma with my mum, because our drink. If the social work was involved with me when I was 7, my mum, and then if the social work was involved with Dale, my wee brother, in 2015, you can see the difference. So it was so much my wee brother had went through. So at the end of the day, I think he's in the best place because he's got his wee therapist, he's got his wee psychiatrist that he talks to, he's got things to help him. Like, there's a lot of things I don't think maybe my gran would have been able to provide that way. But at the end of the day, my gran always said, I will never be able to bury my daughter. And she didn't have to bury her.
Everything happens for a reason, like you say, and it's, you know, I feel like your whole life could be a movie or something.
Honestly, I could write a book. But like, the thing is, my dad says to me as well, like, I wasn't at that wedding. That was my uncle's wedding. And it does pure upset me because that was the last night everybody spent with my gran. But I wasn't at that wedding for a reason, and the reason was my wee brother was supposed to be the ring bearer, and he had just been taken into care the month previous. And also my mum couldn't even go to her own brother's wedding because she was in such a bad way with alcohol. So then that meant I didn't go, right? And then my dad was talking to her about it and stuff, and he was like, Jody, see if you were there, you would have been in that car with your gran. And do you know, it's actually crazy because I would have went home with her. She's the only person I would have went home with that night, was her and her husband. And I would have been possibly in that taxi.
That is absolutely wild, to be fair. Like, I mean, it's like I say, it's like what you haven't even think about. A lot of people would not be able to deal with that, and the fact you've taken it on is, this is what I'm saying though, is I think the best thing about this is that it shows people that you can handle everything that comes your way. You come at the other end.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, I've already been through all this, and I'm like, I live with my gran and granda, who is my dad's mum and dad. I'm like, I've still got a lot of people to lose. I've still got a lot of shit to go through in my life, and I'm sitting here telling you all this at 24. Like, it's I feel like everything I've been through, it's only going to make me stronger in the long run, but it's absolutely awful to think that I've still got so much grief to actually go through.
Well, think of it this way: the fact that you're actually putting in the work to help yourself every day and it knows what's your trigger points. It knows what makes you feel bad about yourself and have negative thoughts. You're working on that every day. So every time that you're working on that, whenever you go through something traumatic or you lose someone you love, your mind is getting stronger and better.
I know.
Better.
I know.
So it won't be like this, because this is actually the first time we've ever met in person.
I know.
And I've not known you that long, but you can see, like, if you hadn't told me any of that, I'd have been like, because you seem like quite an outgoing person. This is your first podcast, and not sometimes you get guests on, you're like that, try to drag a story. This person's a nightmare.
No, I do like have so much to say, and like that's why I feel like I can actually, at the point I can even help myself.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting to the point where I feel like I can help other people.
It's an incredible feeling when that happens. And what actually, so you're saying you couldn't even help yourself?
Like
I
couldn't help myself. I just wasn't washing for days. I wasn't eating. Like I wasn't eating. I wasn't even feeding myself.
So what kind of advice do you give other people when they act? Like what is the kind of thing you would say if somebody came to you right now and said that they were really struggling and couldn't deal with these things? What's the first kind of thing you would tell them?
But see, to be honest, I don't know, because I'm blessed with private medical through my work, and I put myself into a private hospital for 4 months, and I think that's the biggest thing, was to just get me away from my home environment for 4 weeks, to get me away from all the negative stuff, all the negative energy that was just around constantly. I came out, but see, when I came out of that hospital and I came back to reality, I was lying in my bedroom and I was like, this feels worse than ever. But it was just that first night. But it was like, because I'd been away and I'd had so much like peace.
Well, when you look at it from that aspect, it's a case of, if you're in this big rut and a bad place in your life, changing your environment can help, whether that's being in your situation or even just getting out of the house, trying new experiences, trying something different than what's been before.
Exactly. See when my stepmom said, never in a million years would I think I would have started boxing training. Boxing. I've never went to a gym in my life. I've never I've went to the last gym I was in school. Genuinely.
Yeah.
I've never went to a gym in my life. So see, coming out of that hospital and starting exercising. So it was like we go once a week just now. Hopefully we can eventually go to 2 times a week. But right now we're going once a week, and it's been like that since the start of September. I think we were off with COVID for like 4 to 6 weeks as well. So we had a kind of a gap there. But if I'd never imagined myself to do something like this.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it now. Like it's a buzz off it so much. It's a genuine hobby for me, which I had never had for years because of my depression. My dad just always say to me, like, he's so funny, like he's just like with that actual Google, and he's like, you've got 10,000 hobbies to pick for your Jody. And I'd be like, nothing, I don't want to dent. And he's like, why don't you just try like badminton or like these, like swimming? I can't even swim.
Everyone can swim. I can swim, then you can swim. Do you know what I mean? Everyone can swim.
Do you know, I actually can't swim.
Well, like, now here's the thing, like, I know we're having a serious conversation and we'll come back to the serious stuff, right? But you can't swim. When you say you can't swim, what is it that you can't do in the swimming pool?
I can't swim.
Right, but that just... See, so, but when people... Right, okay.
Like, I know I can remember getting all my swimming lessons in primary school.
Right.
And I just never picked it up. I cannot swim.
Right,
I don't know how to...
You're talking about the actual technique of how to actually do it.
I can't keep myself up either.
Right. See, here's the thing, right? I went through this for years from like a really young age, because when I was in nursery, a boy in my class passed away for drowning, and it was very traumatic. So I've had this sort of fear of water and things like that. And the point of the story is that I would go into a pool. They recommended swimming for me a lot because I'm in the wheelchair, obviously, and everything would get stiff, and it would help me kind of loosen my legs up.
Your muscles and stuff.
Yeah, because I do a lot of upper body stuff, but the legs are kind of left to rot a wee bit. So it's like getting a pool, and they kind of forced it on me, and I sort of was like, I really don't want to do this. I was terrified. I wore armbands up until a really sad age. So
I know, but I don't feel like getting a pool with armbands on. Like I really don't.
I know,
like, see, if I wanted to swim, I would have done it. Like I'm not going to do it now.
Well, this is what I'm saying. This right. There was a point. There was like, honestly, there was a real point where I was like, it wasn't that So I got to the halfway point, the shallow end, and I was terrified to just go to the top. And then one day I just done it, and it was like, but every time I would go in the pool, I'd have this fear, but then I would just start doing lengths, and I was terrified I couldn't float, and I would tense up.
But that's what that. I've never really been. See, to be honest, I'm never in swimming pools.
Because I'm like that. Basically, as soon as you said that, I was like, no, you can swim. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Like I've been told as well, like my pals, like one of my pals, like uncles threw her in at the deep end because they knew, they knew that she would be able to swim, and she could. But I'm not gonna go do that. I'm fucking.
You should get a pal and go for a swimming on it, and then have your pal like in the pool with you, and just be like, I'm kind of scared to do this.
But it's the technique of swimming.
It's like
I can't swim. I can't keep myself up. That's what it is.
But then maybe maybe it's a case of building some. Because what I did is I did the best strokes, right? So
I'm starting to build strength.
Yeah. Not that you're not. I'm just saying maybe it's like a case of maybe you feel that you're not floating because you're thinking about it too much. Because I only ever float when I'm kind of relaxed. Do you know what I mean? But
I'll need to try it. I'll need to get a few goals.
All I'm saying is I can't walk and I can do it. You can do it.
I know anything's fucking possible. Anything's possible.
Exactly. I mean, see from what you've just said there and what you came through in your life and the amount of and
then I'm saying I can't swim.
I was like, away you go, man. She can't swim.
No, but it's like playing darts or something. But you're pure crap. Like it's just one of the things. I'm no good at swimming. I might be able to swim like a wee bit, and then that's me.
Well, I just wanted to point out. I was like, if you can deal with the stuff you've dealt with, you can definitely go for a swim. I know that about it. God knows where we were, but to go back to the kind of serious things, I wanted to talk to you a bit about alcohol abuse because I know this is a really personal topic for you.
Yeah.
But it was kind of strange for me reading about you because I've had a kind of a problem with it pretty much my whole life as well in terms of abusing alcohol at certain points from a very sort of young age, and then being off it for ages and then being back on it and then kind of seeing somebody that's dealt with some stuff with it as well, and you kind of end up back in a little bit of a weird situation, I guess. And I think that when I'm reading about the charity event you're doing, to raise money, it's like from somebody that's seen someone you love deteriorate through this sort of a drug that's
as a drug.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a drug that's very much socially accepted in society,
widely spread like everywhere, like and as a class A. At the end of the day,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Definitely is.
Like you don't see weed getting fucking sold in shops, but you've got spirits. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what my mum killed herself with. Straight spirits every single day, and she passed away at 37.
So, what would you seeing her go through that? Like, what is your current relationship with alcohol like, and how do you?
My current relationship is not the best at all. Like, my moods, I need to be in like the perfect mindset, the perfect company, and or I could just go from 0 to 100. Someone says something to me that I don't know slightly, somebody just triggers me, and that's me. Like, I just go from, it's horrible and I don't like it. So that's why I know I don't drink regularly at all. Like, once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And when I do drink alcohol, it's a hit and a miss sometimes with the mood. And then it's like when I drink alcohol, if I'm going home, like if I'm going home myself, I know it's going to be quite bad because I start to think stuff and I start to listen to music and then I just pure think myself into a bad place. Whereas if I went home with somebody, that wouldn't happen. So see when like my friends ask me to go out and stuff, and like I'm not in a relationship or anything, and I'm like, I want to, but and I might have a good night, but it's gone home. And it's when I'm alone, and it's when I'm that I start to think, my mind just starts to go wandering, and I can think myself into a really bad place. And I've never been suicidal, but when I have a drink in me, it's the only time I could ever consider really hurting myself, and that's what scares me about alcohol.
People don't talk about that enough, and I completely agree that it can change your whole way you're thinking. You can go
totally. I've got 2 mental health disorders and I don't self-harm. I'm not suicidal. See, when I drink alcohol, wow.
Yeah.
Like, my mindset can flip.
It's quite strange to me how something that can have such a drastic effect on your mind is so, like, even particularly in Scotland, I think when you go out, you know, the idea of going out and not having a drink is so sort of like, why ain't I having a drink?
Aye.
Because I've tried.
To be quite honest, I couldn't do that personally.
Yeah.
People drowned me drunk and I'm sober, just do my nothing. See, I would need to go out and have a drink. Like, if I'm coming out, I'm having a drink with yous. I'm not sitting there sober. Like, and I just wouldn't enjoy that. I know for a fact I wouldn't enjoy sitting around all these drunk people sober.
I've done it a few times. You know, it wasn't too bad, but at a certain point you're like that. They're wanting to stay out and you're like, I'll wait home. It's like 11 o'clock or something. You're like, but I think that
when it comes, when I'm having a drink as well, like I'll just eventually just hit a brick wall, which is so good in a way. Well, it is really good because I don't want to be sitting on benders for days on end. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, I'll get to maybe like 4 or 5. Some days I can push myself out and I'll be like maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll like, right, stop it, I can't. But usually it comes like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I'll just hit a brick wall and I'll just be like, I'm going to sleep. And that's it, done. And I don't have a drink for months on end after that. I
think that's a really good thing in a way, because I think that
it is good.
Big problem for folk is that kind of continuation of
it is good, and I think that it's in my head from what I've actually seen, that what I've seen alcohol do to someone I love so much, that's just in my head, and I just can't. There's no way I could do a bender.
Yeah.
There's not a way, like, not a chance. See, going to beef and all that, like. Not for me. I'd be in my bed for like 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, just keep going, guys.
It's so strange because like it can kind of creep back up in you a wee bit, alcohol, and you don't really sort of realise it. But you know, you're raising a lot of great awareness with it, with the way you're saying about how you're never ever suicidal, but then you take a drink of alcohol, it can make you feel that way.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is really, it's true, but people just say, oh, it's the fear. It's, you know, it's like, it's real. It's real.
And the fear is the come down.
Yeah.
Right, we're not talking about the come down. We're not even at the come down stage yet.
Come down is,
we're at the stage that you're home and what you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your coming down stage hasn't even started yet. That's your next day and the next day.
And for me, I've noticed it doesn't really. It takes a while to shake off that sort of feeling you get. I think that was why I stopped, because it just felt like that feeling would last for a while, like a couple of weeks or something. It would go away. But then again, that's what happens when you go on benders and things. Isn't it?
Well, I can always remember. I don't know. I feel like my depression started like genuinely. I took a Mandy capsule, right, and the come down from that. I've never went back to normal after that.
It was that bad, man.
So my depression stemmed like really, really bad. Like that was it. That was like when I was in 5th year in school, and I can remember I was just like, I want to actually kill myself. I don't know what this feeling is, but I actually can't do this. And it lasted for like 3 weeks, that pure horrible, like, I just don't want to be here. And then eventually wore off, but it didn't wear off. It didn't wear off. I feel like taking that drug, and I can remember it so vividly. I can remember the come down. I can remember the person I was in a relationship with. I can remember everything, because that's when my mental health started. And then like my mental health for my 5th year and 6th year in school just pure ruined my whole school memories, because my mental health was so bad in the last 2 years.
I mean, I think that, high school itself can be a whole hard thing in the first place. But to be feeling that way is not, doesn't make it any easier. And this is kind of a personal question, right? I mean, you don't have to go too much into this if you don't want to. I just thought I'd ask. When your mum was going through all this, when do you think, at what point did you start realising, I think my mum's got a problem with this, and what were the sort of...
I knew my mum had a problem when I was a child.
Right from the start then?
I've lived with my grandparents since I was about 8. Social work got involved. My mum started drinking. I get a lot of, this is why it goes back to like childhood with me as well. Trust issues, things like that. I've never been cheated on in a relationship, but I've got major trust issues. But it stems from my childhood, and this is what I'm starting to realise, working through therapy, and we're actually starting to get somewhere. Like, this is where my trust issues come from, like me needing my mum and my mum no, and it's just, I know she had a problem now. Me saying this as an adult, but me as a child, I didn't know that. I just wanted my mum. I just wanted love and affection from my mum, which she wasn't able to even give me. And I knew it was drink, and I seen the drink from day one. So I always knew it was alcohol with my mum. Alcohol came before anything, before our daughter.
I mean, it's incredibly sad. It's like, I think that not enough is talked about with how alcohol abuse can affect everyone around you as well. It's almost celebrated as this thing of how drunk can you get at times like that, and
drinking people under the carpet and all that. Like, I can't stand all that talk. Like, I actually can't stand that. Like, so actually somebody said that to me the other day about going on like a stag do, and they'd be like, oh, I wouldn't be interested in anything else, like all the strippers and all that. I would just want to like see if I could drink the most and all that. And I was like, that whole mentality is just, it's a classy drug, and people need to get that into their heads.
Because, I mean, you're totally right, and I think there's so many people that think like that, where they think how, in Scotland as well, like, particularly I get breakfast and that, because I think it's such a big issue for us in terms of, can you, who can drink the most, and who's buying the next round and things like that. And it's not enough, because the rise in sort of mental health problems has been apparent for the last sort of few years particularly. And
particularly because of the pandemic, aye.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sad for a pandemic to make that apparent. Very sad.
When it should have been apparent well before then as well.
Well before that. But it's an absolute joke.
How do we, so, that with that has been like a rise of alcohol and drugs and all the bad stuff, and the fundraiser you're doing, what made you want to do that for that particular charity? And when you look at what they're trying to do, like what would be your sort of message of what you want to put out there for people dealing with problems with alcohol, for example?
Honestly, you can pick all different charities on that, like, and I was pure, like, I was looking for an addiction one, and there wasn't. I was looking for, but I can't even remember if there was one for drugs or something, and then eventually there was what you can do, like mental health and all that, which you would think, why would I not be doing it for that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm doing it for a much bigger reason that's closer to my heart than anything, and it's something that is not spoken about enough. And see, my mum, she was 37 when she passed away, and since she was lying in that hospital bed, she was like a baby to me. She was nothing. She was like 6 stone if that at the age of 37. She deteriorated herself. I had never seen a deterioration so much in all my life in such a short space of time with somebody. It was so frightening. And that's why I want to raise money for this charity, because...
What's the name of the charity again?
So it's Alcohol Change UK. So I'm doing the skydive in November. Honestly, good luck to me there. But I'm only doing it in November because it's close to my mum's anniversary. But good luck, and I hope the weather's good.
I think, what I really admire about this is you've taken your own experience and now you're trying to change it for the better for other people. And that's the biggest thing you can do when you go through something like that. So you deserve all the credit in the world for that, especially for a skydive, because...
Honestly, I'm the biggest shit. I'm honestly so scared. I'm honestly scared. It's absolutely scared to everything. But it's one to tick off the bucket list.
For sure. I mean, this is... I was saying to you earlier about not swimming and that, but like, there's no way anyone's ever catching me skydiving. By the way, never happened in your life. Like, so, I guess I tell you what, right? You go for a swim and I'll go a skydive.
Right, okay.
You go for a swim and I'll do a skydiving thing. We can make a thing out of that. Although I'm saying that, but I'm like, please don't agree to this.
I know, because I would actually get in that. I'm not scared of the water. I just can't swim.
Look, well, if you go and try and learn a wee bit how to swim, do like 10 lanes or something. I'll do it. I'll jump out. I'll jump out a plane or something.
I don't think that deal will stick.
Look, if I make a deal, it's a deal. We'll handshake on it, and I'll do it. I'll do it. Paul's
I'm the one you jump out planes just to get me to swim.
I think the point of this is though, right, is that like, there's so many things that give you fear, like that you don't think, you can have this idea that I can't do this, it's going to be too scary, or even, you get a lot of anxiety for certain things. Even the podcast, like I've been doing the podcast for a while, right?
How long?
Well, a couple of years almost now, and done about 50 odd episodes, and I've really enjoyed it. I've met some great people, and there's been times where it's been going really well, and it's kind of boomed up and back down again, because that's sort of matched the way my life has been, in the sense of I've been very up and down, and different things happen, and you kind of, but you learn, and I feel like I've learned a lot from that time. But my point is that even though I've done it loads of times before, I've had breaks, and I hadn't done one in a wee while because I got COVID again, and a lot of things were happening, and it just wasn't processing things very well. And the point of this story is that, I came in, watched a couple of podcasts, because we have this studio and for loads of different podcasts, and I'm sitting watching it, I'm going, this is giving me the fear, man. I don't know if I can ever do this again. And it's so strange because you're thinking, like, I've done this before and I feel like so much fear behind it. Even swimming, I hadn't swam for like 6 months, and I got back into the pool and I was shaking. And I got to I done like a couple of wee lengths, and it took me, and then I eventually went back up to the top of the pool, and it went from being something that I was really, really scared about again in the space of a couple of weeks. I was doing it, and I think that
it just proves that you can do
exactly.
it.
But there's nothing more fulfilling in life than when you feel that feeling of sort of fear and anxiety, and you go, I'm going to fucking do it anyway.
I know.
Because then you realise when you do that, I can do anything. You can do anything.
I know. Well, so the whole skydiving thing, I won't be doing that again. And everybody says when they do it, it's an amazing experience. And it's one to tick off the bucket list for sure. Like, at me, sure. I've jumped out of a plane.
Exactly. You should try doing 1,000k in a month. See how that goes. I did that for a charity event. Like, actually, a year ago this month, and that's me just recovered. So,
wow, man, no, thank you.
But no, it was like maybe I might have taken it a bit too far on that one. But the point is you think I don't know if you know that for sure, but I actually did do that. It was like 40k on a ski for 30 days to do 1,000k. It turned into felt like I was like Forrest Gump. People were following me. But no. By the end of it, like, my body was. Paul was there the whole time. It's like I'm so glad Paul was there, because if he wasn't, no one would believe me. They were like that. No way. Every time I tell folk, they're like, I can't believe we did that. But the only reason why I mention it, and I've mentioned it on a few podcasts now, I feel like I'm sure, is the fact that just seemed right for the first day. I was like, oh, I have totally fucked this here. There's no way that I'm finishing this, man. And I got there.
Exactly.
And see, recently I've had a lot of sort of anxiety things going on where I'm like, I'm overthinking this and I'm overthinking that. And, I think we're probably both very like caring people in a way. And you have a bad tendency to put other people's care in front of my own at times, which is another thing that's a constant thread. But, when I look back at that, and I was really thinking about it, and the fact it was a year ago today, and how many things have happened since then, I've been such a sort of confusing thing for my mind, and having to process all sorts of different feelings and scenarios that you thought you were never going to get through.
It's the exact same as me, basically, in this last year. Yeah. It's this last year in particular that I have completely,
reinvigorated yourself?
Yes, completely. Like, I was in, for years and years and years, my mental health wasn't stable, but it wasn't, it was different every year. It was so unstable every year, but it was so different, and it wasn't getting any better. And see that, it will get better.
Yeah, exactly.
See that, people saying that, and it's getting worse. Honestly, like, me sitting here right now, I actually, it's unbelievable, because I did think, me, even just this time last year, people say this will get better, Jodie. I'd have been like, piss off. But a year later, I am a different person.
It just shows you that you can be convinced that this is that. You can be convinced.
I was so convinced. Yeah. I was so convinced. I was like, this is my norm now. And it had been the norm for so long, but just the norm was me just sitting about feeling sorry for myself, wanting other people to feel sorry for me. Nothing's going to come for that. I need to know, see if you can fix yourself, nobody else can fix you. And it was absolutely the same as my mum. My mum could not stop drinking, and nobody else could help my mum.
Yeah.
Because my mum couldn't stop. So you need to be the one to help yourself before anybody else. You need to love yourself before anybody else. I'll never be in a relationship again until I fully love myself, because their happiness came before mine, and it was horrible. I was more unhappy than what I was happy in most relationships that I've been in.
Yeah, I can say the same on that, to be fair. That's
So for 100%, I'm working on myself until and then I need somebody as well that's going to accept my flaws and going to accept me for me, because every day's not going to be sunshine and butterflies, and I'll tell you that from day dot, so you know what you're getting yourself into, because I'm unstable, and I have been through a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just going to make me stronger. Like, I sit and speak to my dad about my grief, and speak about my gran, speak about my mum, and it's mad because my wee brother it's been like a grief in a way, but he's still here. I've never seen him. He was taken away just before my gran was taken away, and I speak to my dad about stuff, and I'm like, I speak to my dad, like, my dad's never lost anybody, and he's 45, right? I'm 24, and I'm like, he doesn't even know what I'm feeling. He doesn't know what grief is. The only grief my dad maybe felt is my grief for my mum, and he did really feel that. He felt it for me. He felt my feelings so much because that was my mum. And at the end of the day, my dad left my mum for the reason she ended up dying.
I mean, it's so much to go through. I think that, you know, one of the big things that you should know, and it's really commendable what you do, is the fact you're willing and able to sort of acknowledge all the things, because I think you get worse. Everything gets worse when you're hiding. You know, when you're sort of pretending that you're alright, and but the fact that you're in a position now where you're going, I've been through all these things, and I'm acknowledging the fact that it's made me feel this way, and I'm working on it, which is definitely the biggest step in anything you do. So that, you know, anyone listening to this that's going through a tough time, and what you said about the fact that only you can start to realise that.
Only you.
You need to look at yourself and go, what is it?
And see, that's what I never realised for such a long time. It was such a long time where I was wanting other people to fix me. And I was like, why are you not feeling sorry for me? And I was just constantly feeling sorry for myself. And that was getting me nowhere. Absolutely nowhere.
And it becomes toxic as well. It becomes, I've met people that, you know, that they want you to feel grief for them and sorry for them. They're almost angry at the world.
That's what I used to, I think I went through that process, and I used to be like, why are these people not feeling like sorry for me? But they obviously did, but they didn't need to keep telling me that. Do you know what I mean? And there was, like, my mental health has been absolutely wild the past few years. Like, the year after my mum passed away, 2019, I swear to God, man, honestly, was the worst year of my life. I used to get up in the morning, and I still push myself to go into my work every single day, but I literally got up in the morning and see the dark mornings. I would literally sit at the edge of my bed and sob, just greeting. I'd be like, yeah, I can't face this. Like, I can't face it. I would still get up, still go in for a shower, still get my makeup on, still do my hair, still go into my work. People don't know what you're going through, and that's the thing. That is, well, I'm not really the kind of person that can put on a brave face and be like, I'm fine. If I'm in a bad mood, you know I'm in a bad mood. If I'm having a bad day, you know I'm having a bad day. But that year in particular, it was so heartbreaking in every single way. Like, see, even when I was leaving my dad's, like, I used to go and see my dad after work. Even when I was leaving my dad, he's only 5 minutes down the road from me, and I used to, like, pure choke up, like, as if I was never going to see them again. And, like, I'd drive past, like, basically drive past my dad's house every morning, like, the bit, and I would look along his house and just pure cry. And I'd be like, I'm going in to see him after work, what's the matter with me? But my mental health was obviously just gone at the time. We had got a wee dog. I've got a wee dog called Alfredo. After, obviously, Morelos.
Oh, don't tell me.
Yes.
Surely you're not one of
Obviously I am. But he has honestly been my saviour.
Missing again? Missing the big Briar win night?
Shut up. No, but my wee dog, honestly, I think, I said it to my dad as well, I honestly don't know if I would be here right now if it wasn't for that wee dog, because I actually we got him a few months after my mum passed away, and if I went to my dad's house straight from work every single day and see the comfort that wee dog brought me, that one animal, the comfort he brought me alone, I don't know if I would have been able to get through that year.
It's amazing what animals can do.
Honestly, like, see, when I think about him, I feel like he actually saved my life that year, and we got him at such a good time. Like, I think that's why my dad got him.
Yeah.
Just after my mum passed away, and he's amazing.
He's the only sound Alfredo that I know. How long we went for? Around 10. We normally go about an hour or so. Oh yeah, bastard!
Yes.
No way.
Alfredo.
But you know what?
Alfredo won't be playing.
I'm not even annoyed with that, because I'm after hearing your story, and I'm just happy for you in this moment. I'll be reading about it later on, right? But right now, I'm happy.
Alfredo will be happy as well.
I'm happy that you're happy and Alfredo's happy. I'm going to pretend that we're still talking about the dog butt, right? But no, see, to be fair, after talking about that, it's nice to see a big smile on your face. Fair play to you.
Well, I think at therapy I was supposed to sleep through that Zoom session this morning, because maybe I wouldn't have been able to do this tonight.
There you go.
And everything happens for a reason.
It's meant to be. And listen, I've done a few of these now, right? And I tell you that it's 100% this is going to help somebody. It's going to help somebody.
So I want. See if it can, literally, all I want is, see if anybody feels like they want to message me or anything, like, I don't want anybody to suffer in silence, because I was there and I done it, and my God, it was the worst few years of my life, and I don't know how I got through them. But they were like they're like a blur. They're like a blur right now in my head. They're like a blur because they just went like that. Yeah. They went so quickly, but they were so. I was just isolated, and I wasn't speaking to anybody, and I wasn't speaking to. But if we can help one person, then that's what I care about.
And the thing is, like, helping one person can help so many other people, and I think that's a great note to finish on, to be fair. See, for your first podcast, you were absolutely amazing.
Thank
absolutely
you.
Amazing, and you can come back on any time.
Thank you so much for having me, Kieran.